It's 3 a.m., and the world outside remains still. The house is quiet, yet you find yourself wide awake. You roll over, fluff your pillow, and maybe even let out a sigh. You tell yourself to just go back to sleep, but the more you try, the more it feels like sleep is slipping further away. Sound familiar? If it does, you're not alone. Waking up in the middle of the night happens to everyone, but for some of us, especially as we get older, falling back asleep isn't always easy. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be that way. Tonight, I'm going to show you exactly why this happens and, more importantly, simple, proven ways to guide your body and mind back to restful sleep without frustration or stress. So the next time you find yourself staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., you'll know exactly what to do. Let's get started. Why we wake up at night. Now, before we dive into how to fall back asleep, let's take a minute to understand why we wake up in the first place. Believe it or not, waking up in the middle of the night isn't some random fluke. It's actually part of how your body is designed. Here's what's happening. When you first fall asleep, your core body temperature starts to drop. This is your body's way of signaling that it's time to rest. Around 10:30 p.m., it hits its lowest point, and that drop tells your brain to release melatonin, the hormone that helps you stay asleep. But here's the kicker. Around 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, your body temperature starts to rise again. When that happens, your brain shifts you into a lighter stage of sleep. This is usually when people wake up, even if it's just for a few seconds. Now, most folks don't even realize they've woken up, but for some of us, especially as we get older, falling back asleep isn't as simple as rolling over and shutting our eyes. So the next time you wake up at 2 o'clock or 3 a.m., don't worry. It's not because something's wrong. It's just your body doing what it naturally does. But now that you know why it happens, let's talk about what you can do to get back to sleep faster and easier. 1. The number one mistake people make. Alright, now that we've talked about why you wake up in the middle of the night, let's dive into the biggest mistake most people make when it happens. Imagine this. You wake up, your room is dark and quiet, and instinctively, you reach over and check the clock. It's 3:12 a.m., and suddenly, your brain kicks into high gear. If I fall asleep right now, I'll still get about 4 hours before I need to get up. Then a few more minutes pass, you glance at the clock again. 3:27 a.m. Okay. If I sleep now, I'll get 3.5 hours. And just like that, you're not only awake, but you're also stressed about being awake. Sound familiar? You're not alone. This is the number one mistake most people make when they wake up in the middle of the night. Checking the clock. The problem isn't just looking at the time. It's what happens in your mind the moment you do. You start doing mental math, counting down how much sleep you're losing and worrying about how tired you'll feel in the morning. This kind of anxious thinking activates your brain, making it even harder to fall back asleep. Here's the truth. Sleep and stress don't mix. The more pressure you put on yourself to fall asleep, the more alert your brain becomes, and the more alert you are, the harder it is for your body to relax into sleep. Sleep is kind of like love. The more you chase it, the more it runs away. But when you stop trying so hard and just let go, it tends to show up when you least expect it. So here's your first simple tip. Don't look at the clock. I know it's tempting, but trust me, turning the clock away or covering it up can make a world of difference. If you use your phone as an alarm, flip it over or put it out of reach so you're not tempted to check it. Why does this work? Because when you stop worrying about the time, you take the pressure off, and when the pressure is off, your body has a much better chance of naturally drifting back to sleep. So tonight, when you wake up, and it will probably happen, resist the urge to glance at the clock. Instead, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and remind yourself, I'll fall back asleep when my body's ready. It's amazing how freeing that mindset can be. 2. What to do instead. So, if checking the clock is the number one mistake, you're probably wondering, what should I do instead when I wake up in the middle of the night? The answer is simple. Help your body relax. The goal isn't to force yourself to fall asleep. That almost never works. Instead, you want to create the right conditions for your body to naturally drift back into rest. And the most powerful tool you have for that is something you carry with you everywhere. Your breath. Let me introduce you to a simple but incredibly effective technique called 4-7-8 breathing. It's easy to do, takes just a few minutes, and works wonders for calming your mind and lowering your heart rate, both of which are essential for falling back asleep. Here's how it works. You take a slow, deep breath in through your nose for 4 seconds, then you hold that breath gently for 7 seconds, and finally, you slowly exhale through your mouth for 8 seconds. That's it. Simple, right? The key here is to keep it gentle. You don't need to force the air in or out. Just let it flow naturally, like a soft sigh. This simple breathing exercise helps calm your nervous system, reduce anxiety, and signal to your body that it's time to relax. By focusing on your breath, you shift your mind away from the stress of being awake and into a more peaceful, restful state. Try this for about 4 or 5 cycles. Most people start to feel their body settle after just a few rounds. You might notice your heart rate slowing, your muscles releasing tension, and your mind starting to quiet down. Even if you don't fall asleep right away, you'll feel more at ease, and that's a big step in the right direction. Remember, the goal isn't to force sleep. It's to create a calm, restful environment inside your body and mind. When you stop trying so hard and simply focus on relaxing, sleep often finds its way back naturally. So the next time you wake up in the middle of the night, skip the clock, take a deep breath, and let your body guide you back to rest. 3. The bathroom dilemma. Now let's tackle another common reason people struggle to fall back asleep. Those middle-of-the-night bathroom trips. You know the feeling. You wake up and think, maybe I need to go to the bathroom, or maybe I don't. It's tempting to get up just in case, but here's the thing. Unless you really need to go, it's often better to stay in bed. Why? Because every time you go from lying down to sitting up, then standing and walking, your heart rate increases. And as we've talked about, for your body to ease back into sleep, your heart rate needs to be around 60 beats per minute or lower. So by getting up and moving around, even if it's just a quick trip to the bathroom, you're signaling to your body, hey, it's time to wake up. That makes it harder to settle back down once you're back in bed. Now, don't get me wrong, if you really need to go, by all means go. Holding it in will just create discomfort and make falling back asleep even more difficult. But if it's just a thought, maybe I should see if I need to pee, try to resist. Chances are, it's just your mind looking for something to do. Here's a simple tip to help with this. Keep a glass of water by your bed. If you wake up feeling a little thirsty, you can take a small sip without even getting up. This might satisfy that restless feeling and help you stay comfortable enough to drift back to sleep. And if you do need to get up, try to minimize stimulation. Keep the lights dim, avoid looking at your phone, and move slowly. The less you disrupt your body's natural state of rest, the easier it will be to fall back asleep when you return to bed. The key here is to avoid unnecessary movement. The more you can stay relaxed and still, the better your chances of slipping back into a peaceful sleep. So the next time you wake up and wonder if you should get up, ask yourself, do I really need to go, or can I stay cozy and let sleep come back to me?